a dialogue from 400 BC of ancient Greek Plato describing quantum physics. Let's remember that the Greeks believed that the universe was not a vacuum, but it was filled with ether, and it was an electric universe spanning from the end of, from here to the end of wherever. So obviously their belief in physics theory is that physics differs from what we have today. So the dialogue from 400 BC of Plato describing quantum physics, he said, and upon the earth are animals and men, some in a middle region, others elementals dwelling about the air as we dwell about the sea, others in islands which the air flows around near the continent, and in a word, the air is used by them as the water and the sea are by us, and the ether is to them what the air is to us. So, they did believe in the ether filling everything. Now, moreover, he says the temperament of their seasons is such that they have no disease, paraklesis diffusis, and they live much longer than we do, and have sight and hearing and smell, and all the other senses in far greater perfection than we do, in the same degree that air is purer than water, or than ether the air, or the ether than air. Also, they have temples and sacred places in which the gods really dwell, and they hear their voices and receive their answers, and are conscious of them and hold converse with them, and they see the sun, moon, and stars as they really are. Plato said. The above quote comes from Plato's Phaedo, and it's fascinating for multiple reasons, as are the works of other philosophers who seem to have knowledge about the true nature of reality thousands of years before we started to discover similar things. How would they have known? There are so many intriguing mysteries of the past that are real head-scratchers, like the fact that multiple Mesopotamian societies had knowledge of our solar system, the planets, their orbits, eclipses, and much more, well before we did. It's just as mysterious as ether, quote-unquote, being used in the passage quoted above. There are also fascinating descriptions about the nature of reality found throughout the ages, and it seems that quantum mechanics was described long ago and known of long before we ever stumbled across the field and named it ourselves. Quantum mechanics is the study of matter at the smallest scale, and it's weird because matter at this scale behaves and is governed by laws that are completely different from a matter at a larger scale. Spooky things are observed that really make no sense unless you factor consciousness into the equation. Quantum physics has opened the door to non-material science, and the fact that empty space is not empty at all, that it's actually full of energy, and that factors associated with consciousness can actually have a measurable effect on our physical material world, is mind-altering and has huge implications. Our mind is over matter. Our mind can change matter. Can you imagine? This is why the legendary John Wheeler told us, no point is more central than this, that space is not empty, it is the seat of the most violent physics. Nassim Haramein, he's my favorite, and you'll find a lot of his beautiful videos on YouTube. Nassim Haramein says space is actually not empty and is full of energy. The energy in space is not trivial. There's a lot of it, and we can actually calculate how much energy there is in that space, and that reality might actually come out of it. Everything we see is actually emerging from that space, Nassim Haramein says. The properties of space specifically have been postulated by many, from ancient Vedic philosophy, Eastern mystics, various ancient civilizations throughout human history, and all the way to Descartes, Einstein, Newton, and more. Humans are curious beings, and our quest to discover what is will never end. The life of Apollodorus of Timaeus Philostratus, 220 AD. He said, and they allowed Apollonius to ask questions, and he asked them of what they thought the cosmos was composed, but they replied, of elements. Are there then 4, he asked. Not 4, said Larcus, but 5. And how can there be 5, said Apollonius, alongside of water and air and earth and fire? And the other replied, there is ether, which we must regard as the stuff of which gods are made. For just as all mortal creatures inhale the wire, so do immortal and divine natures inhale the ether. Am I, said Apollonius, to regard the universe as a living creature? Yes, said the other. Today, the above is a message describing this empty space, which many physicists refer to today as the quantum vacuum or the ether. All perceptible matter comes from a primary substance or tenuity beyond conception, filling all space, the akasha or luminiferous ether, which is acted upon by the life-giving prana or creative force, calling into existence in never-ending cycles all things and phenomena. This is from Nikola Tesla, Man's Greatest Achievement. What Plato was talking about, one of the foremost thinkers and philosophers of all time, Manly P. Hall describes Plato's passage in his book, The Secret Teachings of All Ages, and it comes at a time where he is describing multiple elements, quote-unquote, which exist on our earth, but inhabit the invisible world, existing in another vibration, or the ether, if you will, but sometimes appearing in our vibration as well. In fact, the Plato Socrates was aware of this reality thousands of years ago, before we were, gives them even more credibility than describing its properties and those that may dwell within this region of space. Are these the ghosts and spirits that are supposedly seen by many today? Does what we label as paranormal activity have anything to do with this? Other realms of reality that our senses cannot pick up on have been written about for years, and again, other realms that our senses cannot pick up on have already been measured and detected. Supposed devices have even been manufactured that utilize this knowledge in order to develop power-generating machines. Much to my surprise, these concepts have been proven in hundreds of laboratories around the world, but have not yet seen the light of day. This is what Dr. Brian O'Leary, former NASA astronaut and Princeton physics professor, said. And O'Leary, together with Tawari, received praise from many, including legendary quantum physicist John Wheeler, who admired his work, and you can review that correspondence in the link here. Interesting to think about this, isn't it? How so many of our ancients had knowledge of things that were unable to be discovered without the use of our advanced technology is truly a mystery, and there are literally uncountable examples in historical literature that span thousands of years. It seems, in my opinion, that as humanity is moving towards an era where these understandings are returning to Earth, they are emerging again, and at a time when we desperately need them. These concepts have huge implications, and we're writing about we've written about the non-material world in depth in multiple articles. So this is on Soul Ask. Please leave your comments, and thank you for your support. Kindly support my Patreon account. The daily posts are 5 videos daily, and they are totally different from what I have on my YouTube channel. Thank you so much for your support and that you find all my content so interesting. You'll find the Patreon account details in the description box below.